Hello everybody, welcome back to burntchurch. It's a beautiful day out here today. Y'all can probably hear our neighbors over here mowing the yard. They're making it look real good over there. What we're doing here today is I'm going to try to make some sauerkraut. This ain't by no means a tutorial really on how to do it, because I'm going to be trying a couple of different methods here. Back in the 90s, my mama had a sauerkraut recipe that was wonderful. Best I can remember, it was with some vinegar and some salt, and you put it in the jars, and from there I don't know what you done with it, but I remember it was real fast sauerkraut. I don't think you had to water bath it or anything. You just put a lid on it and put it in a cool dark spot, and it just stayed there and ready to eat. Well, we can't find that recipe now. She's looked and she's come up with a couple of recipes, one from the courier and one that she had. And we're going to try them, and we may even try a little bit of another recipe. I'm not sure about it, but I know we're going to try the two. And they say they're supposed to be ready within 14 days, I think. And one of them calls for a little bit of sugar. Now, I don't remember sugar years ago, but that was in the 90s. So what we're going to do, oh yeah, what we got here is my grandpa's old kraut chopping tool. Now, it was just a hole that he had straightened out, and it looks like he had it brazed. It don't look welded really, it looks like it's been brazed or something. But this was my grandpa's, and every time I use this, I think of them. We've kept up with this for many years. They left us back in the 1990s, around 95. Every time I use this, I think of them. So we're going to clean this box up. The box, now it wasn't my grandparents', only this was. We're going to clean this up and clean the box up. We're going to be doing our cabbage in this box. Some of you may recognize this box. This is the same box that I usually have my sheller hooked onto, that I shell corn into. This water coming out of this hose is pretty hot. It's been laying out here in the sun. That's just about got it as good as I'm going to get it. It wasn't very dirty anyway. I've been shelling corn in it. It's nice having old tools like this that has memories attached to them. I have a few tools like that, but not very many of them. My grandpa, he done a lot of farming with horses, and I have a few of his old plows that he used behind his little horses there to plow the gardens with. Now we'll move over here in the shade and get our cabbage out, and we'll start chopping. This is one of them days that's about 110 here in the shade. I think I've got right where the sun's hitting me too. I had an interesting comment today on a video. I don't know if the person was trying to be sarcastic or what. I'm pretty thick-skinned. It takes a lot to bother me, and this didn't bother me really. Right here's a bad spot, got some bug holes in it. That'll go to the chickens. Right here's another little place. Any bugs we find in here go to the chickens too. Right here's another little spot. This is one reason I picked this one. It had some spots on it where the bugs were starting to get in it. But I have a lot of comments that you know is just not good, you know. And I don't pay no attention to them. To do YouTubing videos, you pretty much got to have you got to let it run off you like water on a duck's back, I guess what I'm trying to say. But I'm going to tell y'all about this comment and see what y'all think about it. It was on the video about electroculture 1 week later was the name of the video. If you hadn't seen that video, go check it out. And in none of the videos on the electroculture have I ever tried to let on like I knowed anything about what I was doing. I have no idea how electroculture is supposed to work. And I thought I made it pretty clear in the descriptions on the videos. One of them was electroculture country boy style. And it told in the description that I was just experimenting to see what it would do. And I'm still experimenting, and I'm going to have some more videos about it. But anyway, this comment from this person, this here's got a lot of white in it. They left on there, they said, thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing. Now, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I've seen some that was completely off the subject, that had nothing to do with what the title said. And I've seen some that looked like my 6-year-old grandson could do better. And never have I ever left a bad comment. But I thought that was funny. Evidently, the video upset this person enough that they wanted to let me know that it was no good. But I don't know. I don't understand, I don't think, how you could leave somebody some of the comments that are left. And that's a nice one compared to some. It's just one that's happened lately, and I had my mind on it. I think I about got all I'm going to get off this one. But I thought it was funny. This here go to the chickens. We're going to do 2 of these here. This one didn't seem to have as much bug damage to it, or worms, whatever. I told Daddy the other day one of them had some bug damage, and he didn't think bugs got on cabbage, but actually I was really talking about worms. Sometimes I don't say what I mean, and sometimes I don't mean what I say. I think I got the spot out of that one. He had a little place on the inside of him. I keep a lot of this green in it. I may be keeping a little too much of the green in it, but I love sauerkraut. And I didn't have much last year. And I way rather have homemade sauerkraut. But since I've lost that recipe that I was telling you about earlier, I can't find a good recipe. They're all either too salty, or I'm afraid that they've gone bad. I don't like having to do that 6 weeks and stuff. I don't know, maybe if I had somebody to guide me through it that had done it before and it turned out good, maybe I could do it then. But after I've had something sitting in a jar a month, I'm scared to eat it. Well, I'll get these cut up and we'll move on to the next step. I don't want to bore y'all. Well, here's the way this works. Once you get it in your box, you just start chopping and twisting. The more you have in here, the better it works. So this will take me a little while to do, to get it chopped up as fine as what I want it. But you can see it's starting to work. As far as I know, this is the way that the old timers used to do it. That's why my grandpa had this kraut chopper made here. I'm sure nowadays you could use I don't know, you could probably use some kind of food processor or something, or grinder or something other than grind it up. But it's always fun to me to get to do this. It reminds me of them I think I about got it the way I want it. That's about 1,000,000 chops. You can see it here. That's pretty. Now we're going to put it in a bowl. And I think the recipe calls for sprinkling some salt on it and letting it rest for a few minutes. So that's what we're going to do now. If we ever get famous on YouTube, we're going to build us a studio with some air conditioning. Alright, so my mom's recipe that she could find, we don't know if it's the right one or not. It called for 1 gallon of water and 1 cup of salt and 1 cup of vinegar. Now we're not doing that large a scale. I've got a quart of water here, so that should be 1/4 of everything. So I'm going to do, instead of 1 cup of salt, I'm going to do a 1/4 cup of salt. And instead of 1 cup of vinegar, I'm doing a 1/4 cup of vinegar. That's all her recipe called for. You mix this together, you pack your cabbage in a jar, you pour this in the jar and seal it. And it's supposed to be ready in 14 days. And that's what we're going to try right here with this one. So we're going to follow the instructions. It says to put the cabbage in the jar and then pour the liquid over into it. So that's what we're going to try. I have no idea how much this is going to make. I'm hoping it'll make at least 2 quarts before I can try out 2 different recipes. If it makes any more than that, I've got a little bit of a 3rd recipe that I might try. Now all this stuff's supposed to be clean. I have washed it over here in the sink. So it all should be sanitized pretty good. As good as I can do it anyway. I don't know how much headspace. Neither recipe tells how much headspace to have. I'm skeptical about packing it too tight because I'm afraid the water won't get all down in it if I pack it too tight. It smells good. I love the smell of fresh chopped up cabbage. I believe that's about as tight as I'm going to pack this. We're going to pour the water in it now. Well, the water, salt, and vinegar. And see what it looks like. We've got our vinegar and salt and water stirred up here. Her recipe didn't say anything about this needing to boil. I am going to try my best to debubble it because I want that solution to get all down in here for sure. And it looks like it's a good thing that I did try debubbling it because a lot of that water has went down into the bottom, looks like. I hope this turns out to be the recipe that I used to love. We're just not real sure that it is. Just a little bit more and we're done with this one. Alright, we've got this one ready to seal up. It says just seal it up after this. I'm not going to set these. I'll probably set them in a dish pan and put them in the house. That way if they build up pressure and boil out, it'll be caught in the dish pan. So there's our first one. Now this next one come out of the cooler. And it calls for 2 tablespoons of salt and 1 tablespoon of sugar. And it says put the cabbage in the jar and pour boiling water over, seal, and it's ready to eat in 14 days. We're going to try this one now. Same thing here, I'm going to put the cabbage in first. This one doesn't call for any vinegar. Didn't any of these recipes call for getting the moisture out of the cabbage? A lot of other recipes calls for sprinkling salt on the cabbage and letting it set to draw the moisture out of it. These didn't call for that, and I'm a little bit hesitant about that. I'm afraid it's going to be a disaster, but we're going to follow the recipes and see what takes place. We're ready for the salt, and it calls for 2 tablespoons of salt. Now I use Cannon salt. I wouldn't want to use iodine salt for this. There's 2 tablespoons of salt. And I've got brown sugar out here in the shop. I didn't have any white sugar. So here's 1 tablespoon of sugar. Now this calls for boiling water to be added to this one. Looks like it's going to take a lot of debubbling. I hope these turn out good, or at least one of them. I'm hoping to be able to sample these before the rest of my cabbage comes in. That way I know which one to do. If any of y'all have any good kraut recipes that's easy and fast, send me an email or leave me a comment. Well, we've got this one ready here now, so seal it up. I need to get a Sharpie and write on the top before I get them mixed up which one's which. I want to say again that this wasn't a tutorial on how to do this. Before you do anything like this, do your own research and find out from the experts. This is just a country boy's experiment. But I hope everybody has a good day. I thank you for watching. I pray God blesses you, and I'll see you in the next one. Here's how I'm going to store these for a while. I've got them sitting in this tin pan, and I'm going to put this other one over top of them, because I don't want to make a mess in here in the house. If I do, my wife might whip me. I have seen this fermented stuff try to boil over, and I'm kind of skeptical about those with those lids on there tight. Most time fermenting lids is made to where they can vent, so we're gonna see. Well, I thank y'all for watching. I pray God blesses you, and I'll see you in the next one.